Well, hello again and welcome to my latest episode of Day Tripper Daz. Do you know, the last episode that I did of this particular series was finishing off the coastal walk around Torquay, around Lime Bay, and all the way from the original episode when we started off on our journey all the way around the southwest coast path, and we ended up in Brixham, and that was the summer. Would you believe it, all of a sudden we've gone from the summer days officially now to the autumn, and so the t-shirts have gone and it's on with the hoodies and the long trousers. But never mind, what we're going to have to do is find out what you can do for a good day out in the autumn months. So that's not a problem, let's just get on with it and see what we can do. When I was doing one of my summer programs, Torquay, something inspired me to do this episode today. I saw a pub, sadly, closing down, and it got me to thinking, what other pubs do I remember that no longer exist? So this week's episode of Day Tripper Daz is called Torquay's Lost Pubs. I'm starting off today in the appropriately named Brewery Park, and as you can see, it's a lovely little park with a kind of mini Stonehenge in here and some very tall trees. One or two have come down in the winds of recent times, but there's a few still hanging on there. But the main point of our attention today is this building, which is down here. Now, this is called Brewery Park because back in 1880 a company called Swain Brewery, or Swain & Co, was established, and in this very site that you can see in front of us right now was the brewery where Swain & Co made their beer. Apparently back in 1928 the brewery was sold to Plymouth Breweries or something like that, so the company no longer existed. But in recent years there was a pub here called the Old Brewery. Now, a couple of people I know who I'm hoping will watch this program, so hi Tom, you've been into this pub. My neighbour, former neighbour Steve, I hope you're doing well, Steve. He'll know this pub very, very well, and also a few others. Alex will know exactly this pub, so few people will know this particular place. It was called the Old Brewery. Back in the 90s I think it was a snooker hall as well, and for many years afterwards, when it became the Old Brewery, they used to have snooker tables upstairs. It was a popular place, as I knew it, for people to come in. A lot of people used to come in and support Celtic, I seem to remember, in here. And the nice thing about this place, it was a traditional local boozer, by the way. There was nothing sort of dressed up about it, but because they had this wonderful park right outside it called Brewery Park, appropriately, in the summer months they used to hold kind of like a summer festival down here, and in the park you'd have all the children would be playing like you do, whilst in the pub, in the boozer, we'd all be in there drinking our beer, and they'd have food outside. I seem to remember some sort of jubilee thing that was going on here as well. Now we're going to have a little look inside what's happened now. Clearly this is not a pub, but it might give you a good idea to see exactly what it looks like now. And basically it's been demolished, which is a bit sad, but that's kind of a little bit of the story of today, really, because so many of the pubs I'm going to take you to, which once upon a time existed, have gone, and there's so many different reasons for it. Economic reasons, the price of beer is not cheap nowadays, is it? So the pubs are closing down, and it's a little bit of a sad tale, unfortunately, that we're going to bring you today, but rest assured it's not all bad news, and I promise you I'm going to follow up this particular episode with Torquay's best pubs, the ones that are still here. So that's something to look forward to. I'll certainly be doing more drinking on that day, but for now we'll say goodbye to the Old Brewery here at Brewery Park in Torquay, and we're going to head off to our next location, which there's a bit of a triplet of ex-drinking holes that we're going to see. So we've left the area of Brewery Park and walked a little bit further down this fairly busy road down here. This is called Market Street, and we're in a part of Torquay which is called Ellacombe, and not very far from the Old Brewery now we come to our next lost pub, and this one was called appropriately the Ellacombe Inn. We are in Ellacombe, but there's nobody in the inn these days. It's been converted, as you can see, into houses or flats or whatever it is. I mentioned a friend of mine called Tom a little bit earlier on. He'll remember, because we've always got a little anecdote about this place. It used to be an Usher's Brewery pub, and I've always liked my beer on tap, you know, rather than the keggy fizzy stuff that you get. And LA? Yeah, I'm just talking about what used to be there, the old Ellacombe Inn. Do you remember that
pub? Yeah,
used to be there years ago. So yeah, YouTube, Day Tripper Daz. Yeah, so he remembers the Ellacombe Inn, and me and Tom used to go in there, and I always used to ask deliberately, could I have a pint of Ushers please? You'd think they'd have Ushers, being an Ushers pub, and well, they never had it on tap ever. I don't know how many times I've been into that pub when it was open, and they never ever had Ushers. So I used to go in and deliberately ask for it, knowing exactly they never had it. Maybe that's the reason why it closed down. Who knows? Okay, now we're going off to our next pub that's been lost, but let me just show you another place which no longer exists. It's not actually a pub. There used to be a club here called Munro's, and that place closed down quite a few years ago. It used to be only open like a couple of nights a week. It used to be quite popular with young people. It was kind of a dance club, I guess, as most clubs actually are. But it was hardly ever open, so I guess, you know, maybe it's quite hard. And running a club is a very expensive business, so I guess that's probably the reason why we no longer have a club there. And let me just show you this little bit of a park, because although I'm not going to actually take you to one of our locations today, this little park here is in Ellacombe, and I'm just going to show you roughly where it is. There's a club that also opened up towards the lower end of Market Street there. It opened for one night, and mysteriously, I'm not making any assertions here, there was a fire the next day, and the pub closed down and was closed for years after that. Who knows what the reason for that is. Anyway, the next pub we're going to go to, which has been lost sadly, is just around the corner. So it's literally just around the corner from that park we were in just a few seconds ago that we come across our next lost pub in Torquay. And forgive me for being a little bit self-indulgent here. I will mention some names. Mention Tom. He'll pop up, his name will pop up a few times here, but my friend Tony will know this place quite well, and sadly one old friend of mine, Dave, who sadly passed away. He was known as Teacher Dave, used to frequent this particular pub quite a lot. This is the country house, or at least it was, and as with so many of the properties we've seen or will see today, they've been converted into residential use now, and I guess that's probably the right thing to do if they're not being used for pubs. Let someone live there. But yeah, this country pub, big bar, lots of people, very busy, always had karaoke and things like that going on in here, and it's a bit of a sad thing really. Had its own little sort of gardenette like outside here where people come and sit, and of course unusually for a lot of places had plenty of places to park, which is always convenient as well. This pub is not without its controversial history. Back in 2004 a chef was I believe killed in this property, and whilst there was an investigation as to what happened in those days, no one was ever charged with the murder of this particular person. And also I have known over the years, at least on a couple of occasions, for a mysterious fire. These pubs seem to attract mysterious fires, not quite sure why that is. But that's the country house, which is no longer a Torquay pub. So what are we going to do now? Well, we're going to wander off to the furthest end of the main area of Torquay. I'm not doing this in particular any favourite order today. I'm doing this and just happens to be the direction of travel that we move on to. So we're heading to a part of Torquay now called Tor. So here we are at the part of Torquay which is known as Tor, and it's really the sort of start of the shopping area of Torquay, and I was hoping to give you a little bit of optimistic news when I got here today, having done the research on the pubs that I know that used to be around and no longer exist. There was one I was thinking, oh well, while I'm here I'll show you one that's actually opened, but when I got here I realised that this one has gone as well. This used to be a pub called the Fox Firkin, and this was a busy little pub really. I'm really quite surprised to see that no longer exists, but as you can see, that too has now been converted into residential flats, so that's a bit of a shame. I was really kind of got to give you a bright note there. There's one there that was still open. One I know that doesn't exist anymore is down there called the Parrot. Now that was a popular pub. It's very close to the police station. That's not the reason it was popular. It was popular because it was very close to South Devon College, which used to be located here in Torquay. That college moved over to Paignton, to a place called Long Road in Paignton, so it's no longer here anymore, but it was very popular with the students who used to go in there, which, as I understand, might well have been its demise. By the way, if you're here during the morning, come to this place here. It's called the Krusty Loaf Bakery. If you like those baguettes with things like pulled pork and gravy and stuff like that on it, or just pasties and things like that, they're really good. I digress. Yeah, so yeah, the Parrot apparently closed down because it had a bit of a reputation for underage drinkers going in there, and also the car park that was next to it apparently was being used for, so we say, some slightly antisocial purposes. So that's no longer there, and apparently it was knocked down. There's also another place over there, over by the train station in Torquay called the Clarence, which again has actually been knocked down, so it no longer exists. But the main reason I've come, oh sorry, it's been run over here by somebody with a Chelsea tractor. So a lot of them are around here. Some was very popular there. Where's this bus going to take us? That's going to Brixham. We've done that, we don't know to get there. Can we actually get across this road here without being run over? No, I don't think so, but we've made it anyway. Okay, what was that all about? What a mad moment, wasn't it? Anyway, we've made it to the place I wanted to actually show you today, which as that arm sticking out of the wall suggests, is a pint of beer, but it also has an elbow on it, and that's the clue to what we're looking at. This pub is called the Printer's Elbow, or to be more precise, Printer's Elbow 2, and it's called Elbow 2 because it didn't originally sit in this location in Tor. In fact, it was down in a place called Fleet Walk. We'll be going there during this programme. Apparently though, it became really popular as a pub and they had to find bigger premises, so they came here and took over a pub that existed here originally, called the Globe. So that's the Printer's Elbow. Incidentally, the name Printer's Elbow comes from the fact that very close by, originally the local newspaper called the Herald Express was printed very closely by here. I think a lot of the people who used to work in there used to come and frequent this particular pub here. Now I can't really show you anything on the inside, obviously, because this pub no longer exists, but for those of you who might remember this place, for little nostalgic reasons, I will raise my camera and you can see, but I can't, what the backyard used to look like inside the printer's elbow. And I've had a few pints in there over the years, but as you can see, it's all been rather sadly neglected now. But I can see the building has been sold, so I'm guessing that will now be converted, as everything else is, into flats. Okay, we carry on down through Tor. So we continue our little trip through Tor here in Torquay, and I just thought I'd just show you a little bit of an excursion. Remember I showed you Munro's, which was a club in Ellacombe, which is closed down. I thought I'd just show you this place. Now it's not a pub, and it's never been a pub as such, but many years ago this used to be called Val Bonds, and it was a nightclub. I mentioned to you earlier on about a friend of mine called Tom. I've lived in Torquay now for, I guess, getting on for almost 30 years, so whilst I'm not a Torquayan from birth, I was born in Plymouth, I've lived here quite a long time, but my relationship with Torquay goes back even further from when I moved to here. And me and my friend Tom lived in a town called Totnes, which is probably about 8 or 10 miles away from here. But every Saturday night, maybe Friday night, but certainly every Saturday night, we used to have a pre-booked taxi that would bring us here every week into Torquay. We'd go to some other pubs first, but we'd always end up here at Val Bonds. And we had a pre-booked taxi, and the idea was we'd both go back to Totnes in the taxi, and probably more times than not, one of us didn't turn up. I'll leave it to your imagination as to the reasons why that might have been. So this was Val Bonds. It was a club. We used to love it. There used to be queues here. Now if you look down there, do you see there's a corner past that blue box thing? There used to be queues coming out of this door. In fact, I think it was this door here. This was the entrance. And it would go all the way around the corner, and if you didn't get here quite early in the evening, you would end up having to queue to get in here if you were lucky enough to get in at all. Now it's a snooker hall, so you can still get a beer in there. There's a children's play area in here as well, but that's Val Bonds. I thought I'd just show you that because that was such a popular place, and it was at a time when this, which is the top end of town, used to be the most vibrant part. So we would come into Torquay, walk around some of the pubs in the sort of centre part of the town, and then always end up here at Val Bonds, and it was really busy. Things changed in years that followed it, and the focus of attention seemed to be more at the bottom end of town, which is where we're going to go to shortly. And but yeah, no, that was a very popular place there, Val Bonds. Tom, you'll know that one, and just about anyone in Torquay of a certain age will remember it. Okay, we're now heading off down to the main part of Torquay's shopping area. Okay, well, we've made it now to the main shopping area here in Torquay, and as you can see, a few people out here today going to the shops. It's midweek, so it's not that busy, and as I said before, we have now come into the autumnal month, so I guess a lot of the holiday makers have now disappeared. Hello, how are you doing?
I thought you were one of those ones filming the place.
Well, I am, and do you know what I've come down here to do? Do you remember the White Hart?
Yeah.
And that's closed down.
I can't forget that, can I?
Oh no, but what is that now? Is that a pub now? Has it changed?
It's a biker's place.
Is it?
Yeah.
Bikers as in pub, or bikers as in
people? Yeah.
People going there.
Motorbike ones.
Is it? Okay. Well, I'm going to go down and have a look at that because I'm doing a film about Torquay's lost pubs.
Oh right.
And you'll remember.
Be here all day.
Yeah, all day long,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. So it's Mackie D's today instead of there, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, nice to meet you.
Yeah. Take care.
Have a see you later. Here you go. Hey. Hello. It's a GoPro, yep.
Right.
There you go. You're famous on YouTube now.
You're a YouTuber?
Yeah, YouTube.
I'm a journalist.
Day Tripper Daz. Day Tripper Daz. Yeah. Oh, hello. You'll find it. Day Tripper Daz.
Day
Day
Tripper.
as in day. Tripper as in going on a
Day.
trip. Day. D-A-Y.
D-A-Y Tripper.
Tripper.
T-R-I-P-P.
Yeah, Daz. D-A-Z.
D-A-Z.
Day Tripper Daz. You'll find it. Good one. Nice one. Give us a like.
Nice.
Thank you. Okay, right. Now, apparently this is now a biker's place. And this used to be known as the White Hart. That was Miranda, by the way, who we just saw there. She used to drink in this particular place. Now I'm going to mention a couple of names here again. So this was the White Hart. It's now called the Hells Angels. I really still don't know what that's about, but doesn't look to be much going on in there at the moment. But the White Hart, I remember it used to come down here with a friend of mine called Raymond. Hi Ray, if you're watching. No, Ray was quite, we used to come down here, we'd get a cheap McDonald's and then we'd come down here to the White Hart. Now Ray, I remember him because he used to think he could sing karaoke, and well, yeah, I suppose he thought he could. He used to sing Sex Bomb, little Tom Jones song. And then there was another friend of mine who used to come down here called Craig. He used to think he could play pool and sing karaoke. Can't remember the song that he used to sing, but he used to, it's like everyone sings the same thing every week. And I used to come down here and I used to think I could sing, and I would do Leave Right Now by Will Young. I think people wanted me to leave right now after me singing that, but I thought I could sing as well. I do remember here the people who used to run the karaoke. There were two people who used to come down here and do that one there. One was called Mandy and the other one was called Jock. Now I'm not going to tell you which one's which, just in case they're still plying in their trade doing karaoke, but I do remember one of them used to like to drink and would have had one before starting the karaoke, and the other one, well, you couldn't get on the mic because the other one used to like the sound of his own voice because he used to think he could sing, and he would constantly be on the karaoke, so you couldn't get on it. So I do remember that one there. Really good pub in there. Oh, I'll also give a shout out to Leah, who used to not only frequent this bar but used to work in there. Hi Leah, if you're watching. So there you go, that's the White Hart. Sadly no longer is. Another little slight off the beaten track, if you like, as we come down to this rather sort of dark and dingy and salubrious looking sort of area. This building here used to be called the Hideaway, and on our little trips over here every Saturday, me and Tom would quite often come into this place here. It used to be on like a couple of different levels as well. I don't know what it is now, I guess it's been converted, but yeah, that was the Hideaway Club down this dark alleyway at the back end of the main shopping area of Torquay. So we carry on our journey, and the next place we go to is the Hop and Grapes. So it's in the shadow of the main car park here in Torquay. It's got 1970s written all over it, isn't it? How much concrete did they use to make that thing? Oh well. Anyway, something that was a little bit prettier was this kind of Tudor looking building, I guess. And this reminds me of the days, the old days when we used to come over here at the weekend, and this would be one of our regular stops. In fact, I think when we got dropped off in Torquay, this was the first pub we used to get our first drink in here. It was called the Hop and Grapes, or as we called it locally, the Hope and Grope, or you hope for a grope. Never really got many in there, but a popular little pub, well known for its pool table, quite a big bar in there, and they did a really good Sunday lunch if you needed sobering up the following day. Now it isn't actually a closed place now, but it's not the Hop and Grapes. It's a location, shall we say, where adults go. I'll say no more. I'm sure you can do your own research. Right, now we did manage, despite the fact that we were out drinking, but this would be the first place we would have come to actually manage to walk up some steps, and these will take us to a place called Abbey Road. So we've made it up to the top end of those steps there onto Abbey Road. No, it's not that one. You won't see the Beatles walking across the road. And what you also won't see is the next pub that I'm going to show you, or to be more precise, it was a wine bar. And I was thinking I'm going to struggle to find out which of these buildings it was, because they're all kind of like similar to each other. This was a bar called the Mousetrap, but I think I've got the answer here, because there's a place there called Mousetrap House, which I suggest must have been the actual building that this old wine bar used to be in. And it wasn't the most popular one we used to go into, but it was on the trail, and there you go. As you can see, the rain started coming down here today in Abbey Road. I did tell you that summer has now passed. It's amazing how summer just suddenly went at the end of September. It was really nice. We've had a long hot summer this year, and all of a sudden it became, on the 1st of September, it all of a sudden became autumn, and here we are back into the typical Devon weather. Okay, on to the next location. Okay, I'm going to have to occasionally wipe my lens, I think, here, because we're on Abbey Road now, and I've got a little trio of places to show you that no longer exist here. There's a bar here called Ice Bar, and that's no longer there, but it still has the sign above the door saying Ice Bar. There also used to be another bar here, kind of a sort of dance music bar called EJ's. Now, people who know Torquay will remember EJ's. I'm just trying to remember which was the door you went in to get into there, but it was here on Abbey Road. And we all knew it as EJ's. It was a bit of a dance pub. It was one of those ones you went into early, middle of the evening. There'd be a right old party going on. People would even be dancing on the tables and swinging from these poles they used to have on the ceiling holding the roof up. That was called EJ's. What you probably didn't know is that EJ stands for Eric J. Baines, who was the original owner of it. EJ, Eric J. And that's where the name came from. Sadly, that place is no longer here, and nor is this here. This is a pub called the Townhouse. Now, that was always a little bit, I don't know, it was one of those pubs that could be a little bit risky. There's always a little bit of something going on in there, but it's another lost pub here, and people will remember the Townhouse very well, I suspect. But what most people probably don't know is that it was originally called the Falcon Hotel, and there's still to this very day a clue to that name, because if you look above the actual building onto the roof, you can see this giant falcon, which is sat on what looks like a sort of chimney type stack there, but that's the last surviving remnants of the Falcon Hotel. But that was Townhouse, you got EJ's, and you got the Ice Bar. Sadly, all of them have gone, and in fact, to be honest, on Abbey Road now there isn't really much actually to see. I'm going to take a little diversion now up a place called Melville Street, or up Melville Hill to be precise, which is exactly where our next lost pub of Torquay will be found. And this pub originally was called the Melville Inn, I believe. So that's probably a bit before my time. However, what was in my time was a place called the Clipper. It's a lost pub, and I had a friend of mine who used to live next door. He sadly passed away as well. He's a lost person of Torquay. But here we are. This is the Clipper, as I remember it there. At the back of this, quite a nice little tidy little sort of beer garden and sort of terrace area that you could go into. That's to say, next door Tim used to live there, and I spent many an hour in that particular property there. So that's the Clipper. Sadly no longer with us. Now, there's a couple of places here also up Melville Street, Melville Hill, that used to be pubs, and I'm going to be honest with you now, I don't know what their names were what they were called or anything about them, but I'm pretty certain this building on the end here at least was a pub back in the day. So if you know Torquay, then please send me a comment as to what that pub was called. There might even have been another one on the other side of the street. Again, don't know much about that, all before my time, but that would be interesting to find out what that's about. Now the next place I'm going to take you, which is not very far, it does involve steps, but the good news is these steps go downhill. So although I said the good news is it's downhill, these steps, what I didn't tell you is actually they're really steep. And if you're out on a night out in Torquay, challenging these particular steps would be just that, quite a challenge. But it's important I show you this little part of Torquay. Now this is not a pub I'm going to show you. Once again, I've slightly gone off track here, and we're going to show you a club, but I think it's one that is in the minds of a lot of people who know this part of the world. This building here used to be known locally as Rockies. This is actually called Rock Walk, or Rock Road rather, and Rock Walk is a different part of Torquay. There is a Rock Walk here, but this is Rock Road, and this place here used to be a place called Rockies. It was previously, before that, it had another name called the Double Two Club, and that was advertised in those days as private men's club. Now there's a clue in the name there, because it was literally men only. In fact, it was one of those backstreet gay bars that was here, but it then became Rockies, and that kind of transformed it a bit, because instead of it being something more sort of dark, shady backstreet bar, it became more of an LGBT all-round sort of club. But actually I don't think even that was the case, because it became very popular with people of every community here. It was on, I think, 3 separate floors. At one stage there was a balcony around the top, then they installed a very expensive floor with lots of lights flashing around on it, and that had a quiet bar downstairs. And I remember Dennis, used to call him One-Eyed Dennis, who used to work here, Stan, who used to work here. It just became very popular for everyone in Torquay, because most of the other clubs that were around here back in those days used to be filled with lots of very young people, kids basically, whereas this tended to be a bit more of an adult, more mature place, and just people just loved it in the end. So that was Rockies. It changed its name in the end to Candy Floss, I think, trying to perhaps attract a slightly bigger audience, but sadly that's no longer there anymore, and now that's been turned once again into private flats. Right, now that brings us now smack bang into the middle of Torquay. And remember this place, the local people call it the GPO Roundabout, General Post Office, and where you see that Tesco store there, that used to be, or actually right next to it, the old post office there. So that's why this was called the GPO Roundabout, and people still refer to it as that. Now I'm going to show you this place here now, which is a Costa coffee shop, but before that there used to be a bar there, which I think was called Ugly Coyote, and there was a film, Coyote Ugly, so I guess that's where they got the name from. Before that, I think actually it was a furniture shop, but the bar's no longer there, as so many of them are, but you can still at least go in there and get yourself a nice coffee. Now we're going to take a bit of a walk now, but before we do that, let me show you this pub here, which is not a pub, it's a lost pub. This used to be called the Post Horn, and it's not a pub I went into an awful lot, but I do remember going in there, I think as part of the to mark its name, they used to have these old brass instruments hanging on the wall, and as someone who used to be a musician, I've been known to sit in that bar and actually play some of those instruments. They weren't very good, and I don't advise you doing playing on an old ropey instrument anytime, but that was called the Post Horn. Right, talking of wind, I'm going to lose a bit of wind now, because we're going to make a journey, yes, you've guessed it, up more steps. But I have to do this. I mean, I'd rather not, but I have to do this because there's a lost pub up this set of steps and higher up than that. It's up a place called Alpine Road, Alpine Hill, and as you can see, there's a reason why they call it Alpine, because it does get very steep. So I'll see you closer to when I reach the summit. Ooh. So this is actually called Braddon Street. I've just about got my breath back now, as we've made it far from base camp to actually what is only really halfway up this hill, but it still feels like a long way to come to see what is our next lost pub, and it is appropriately named the Alpine Inn. Craig, if you're listening to this, and Raymond, you'll remember we've been in this pub. It's now a house, or in fact, to be more accurate, it's now two houses, because I think the pub originally covered both the current houses here. And one thing it does give you is some pretty good views across Torquay. There's an old rover, look at that. That's an old relic, but that lasted longer than the pub did. But yeah, sadly, that's no longer here. Now, I used to work in a place just up the road, so this would have been a handy little spot, though I got a feeling when I was working there they were in the process of closing it down. So you really do, I think this is a local pub, because to get here you have to either walk up a very steep hill or come tumbling down one to get to it. And again, that's probably the reason why it might have suffered a little bit towards the end of its life. But there you go, another lost pub here in Torquay called the Alpine Inn. Right, now we are going back down here. There might be places in that direction. I'm not going any further up the hill. We've done enough of that this year. It's been a lot of walking up and down hills on previous episodes. I want to start doing some flat ones if I can. If you are enjoying this program, or maybe some of the other ones that I've done on Day Tripper Daz, then please remember to press the subscribe button, and maybe give me a thumbs up as well. Maybe press one of those buttons that set the alarm for when the next episode comes out. I've taken a couple of weeks off at the end of the summer, give myself a little bit of a break from making films, but we're now back in the autumn, and I got some good ideas about where we're going to spend some days out. I know this is about pubs that are no longer open, but one of my programs that I am going to make is going to be Torquay's best pubs. That's the ones that still exist, so look out for that one in the coming days or weeks, or whenever I get around to doing it. So that'll be something to look forward to. Right, we carry on at the moment though to look at things that no longer exist. So we're back down into the town now, into the what is really the main shopping area of Torquay at the bottom end. This is called Fleet Walk. A few years ago all the buildings looked like this. I don't know what style they are, Edwardian perhaps? Victorian? Edwardian, I think. But a lot of it was replaced by a sort of modern day, slightly plastic looking shopping precinct down the bottom. But that's not what we're here for. We're here today looking for lost pubs of Torquay, and this impressive building is the next one that we come to. And back in the 90s, maybe into the noughties, this was a popular bar. It was called the Piazza. I remember it more though as a place called Blu Cargo, and in fact I do remember inside this building they used to have giant aeroplanes, like biplanes, hanging from the ceilings, and it's really quite spectacular. By the looks of it though, and I never really paid much attention to it back in the day when I was coming here as a boozer, but this was originally called the Vivian Institute from 1887, and there's a blue plaque there which is dedicated to Edward Vivian, MAJP, whatever that is. And apparently nobody did more to mould Torquay's character, advance its interests and extend its fame. So that's well done, Mr. Edward Vivian. Whatever you did, I'm sure it was very impressive. Today, well, it's got a sign up there saying it sells waffles, crepes and gelato, ice cream, I think, isn't it? So it's Mama's Kitchen, but it's also to let. And that means nothing's happening there now, even to this very day. So another sad reminder of some of the things that I remember here in Torquay. It's not all bad news. Trust me, when we do the next episode here, or the follow-up to this one, which is Torquay's best pubs, the ones that are still open, I promise you you'll find lots of really interesting pubs that still exist. But we continue our journey now down towards the harbour, to where we'll find a couple, 2 or 3 more lost pubs. Here we go. So we're coming to someone set the alarm off there. That was well timed. I wonder if someone's breaking into something, maybe just testing the fire alarms, who knows. Now, not all pubs that have closed have necessarily not been replaced by another pub, and so there's a couple of examples right here where a pub once existed, closed down and then reopened as another pub. This is a good example one. Now this is called Bank, but it was curiously called Banks. You still see the name on the door there, but that was spelled B-A-N-X. This one's now reverted back to B-A-N-K, and pretty certain, if you look at the ornate exterior of this building, established in 1815, this would have been a bank of some sort. Not sure what branch, but that's now reopened. It's gone a little bit more upmarket than the old banks that I remember. But it was still a great pub, and got some good friends of mine. Mario used to work in there. He used to work as a chef in that one there. So no, it was a good pub. We enjoyed that one there. Just across the road from that, another place that used to exist as a pub. You can see it there next to the Sports Direct shop there. Now that's now a Wetherspoons pub. It's called the Green Ginger, but actually that previously was known as I believe Bar Med, if memory serves me well, that one there. But it's now the local Wetherspoons pub, and so it's being used properly. It's one of the newer buildings along this Fleet Walk redevelopment that they did probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, something like that. But the place I've come to see now, sadly, is one of those lost ones, and this one brings back a lot of memories. This here used to be called Rhythm and Blues. We knew it as R&Bs. Tom, if you're watching, you'll remember this one here. Alan, Karen, if you're watching, you'll remember this. On a Sunday afternoon, we would come down to this pub, and they used to do this special. Now back in the day when I used to drink here, it was cheap to buy beer. A pint of beer was not expensive, £1 or £2 or whatever it was. But on a Sunday it was buy one get one free. You ordered 1 pint of beer, you would automatically be given 2. And I used to come down here on a Sunday afternoon, and they'd have like football on and all sorts of stuff. It's a very busy pub. It would be packed out. There'd be live music sometimes, and we'd get absolutely sozzled. The mystery is how any of us on Monday morning got up and went to work. I have no idea. I certainly wouldn't be able to do it today, but there you go. Sadly now it doesn't really look very much at all, really. So that's R&Bs. Okay, we're going to go down now to look at something which is very crazy. So we've made it pretty close to the harbour now, down on Vaughan's Parade, down here in the bottom end of Torquay's shopping area. There's another pub which is open. It's called Soho Bar. I remember that one. There was a bar called Port Salute, but that's still a really popular bar now, and they do they do like dance music and stuff in there as well. So that's really good. We've got a lovely garden there. It's called the Secret Garden. I don't know what's secret about it, because like everybody knows. But what is a little bit more of a secret is this place here, not Domino's Pizzas. That is perhaps a little bit not really what I'm here to show you today, because what used to be here was a really crazy bar called the Crazy Horse Saloon, and actually it kind of lived up to its name, because it actually was a little bit one of those pubs you go into and there would be glasses flying around the place, and it was a bit like that one there, so the name was quite appropriate. Now if you want to get yourself a pizza, that's the place to go to. But what I do remember mostly about that pub is what my dad used to think of it. Now my dad lived in Plymouth, sadly no longer with us, but every year he used to bring my younger brother up from Plymouth, and my younger brother Ross liked running in half marathons, and he likes the full marathons as well, but they used to do, or they still do, a half marathon here in Torquay, and my dad would bring him up here, and he always used to comment about the noise he would hear coming out of the Crazy Horse Saloon there. Now a lot quieter now, and just go and get yourself a pizza. But the next place we're going to come and see here in Torquay is not very far from that. Oh, by the way, here's the harbour, all looking very nice now. A bit quieter. Everyone, a lot of the holiday makers have gone home. I think we have a lot of foreign students here in the summer. I'm guessing a lot of those have disappeared now. But what we're coming to actually have a look at is this building here. Now this bar used to be called Mambo's. I'm just going to cross the road because that'll give you a slightly better view of it. There we go, we can get across the road. This person's nice to stop, thank you very much. So yeah, this was Café Mambo's, which was up on that balcony up there. In fact, they had a bar on the lower ground here, a bit quieter. Used to go upstairs, they play a lot of dance music. Used to have a DJ up there, and you can go and sit on the balcony, and they used to do quite a bit of food up there as well. And talking of food, it then became this burger heaven bar in recent times, and I think you had to bring your own drink to that one there. I don't know what it is about these places that set themselves up. The reason you bring your own drink is they don't have to have a license to serve alcohol, but it does mean you have to go in and order food. And I've seen that a couple of times happen here in Torquay, where these places try to open on that basis and they don't seem to last very long, and that's clearly an example of that. So there you go, that's Café Mambo's, and that is no more. Well, the good news is, as we come up Park Lane here, there is in fact still a pub which is still open. In fact, actually, it looks like it's had a little bit of a facelift itself. Actually, it's looking very nice. It's the Devon Arms, so that's still going. But the place we've come to see, the final lost pub, is this one here. Now this is called the Hole in the Wall, and it is Torquay's, it was Torquay's oldest pub. And this was well known, I think, back in the day when the harbour used to actually come further up here. Now there's a lot of reclaimed land, but the harbour used to come closer to this than it currently does. But it's Torquay's oldest inn, and they were serving traditional ales. It was also attached to a restaurant there called Maggie's, and I think the two of them merged into one eventually, and so it became a sort of restaurant and a pub. But sadly, in the rain here, Maggie's there not looking quite so splendid. Let's see if we can see anything through the windows down here. Anything to be seen. There's still a fair bit of bar equipment in there if anyone's interested. I see it is up now for sale. It says run your own pub, and you can get a tenancy here. So I don't really know what the background story is to why it's closed down. My hope, I mean, if you look at it, if you go inside, it's beautiful inside here. I don't know if we can get to see anything inside there. Not much inside, it's a bit dark there. I'll just give it one more look here. I don't know if you can see in there. I can't see much, there's too much reflection going on there. But I really do hope they open this place up, because it's a fantastic pub. It's got this lovely, cute, rather quaint little passageway on the outside where you could come and enjoy your drink. And as I say, they used to do a lot of good food here. There's a little miniature toilet there, don't know what that's about. Oh, there you go, that's the Hole in the Wall, Torquay's oldest pub, and at the moment not one at all. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. It's built in 1540, would you believe it? So they really need to do something to keep this place open, and I really hope they do. Anyway, on that slightly somber note, the happy one is I will now be doing a follow-up episode to this at some stage of Torquay's best existing pubs, and that'll be something I'll look forward to a lot more than this, probably, because I'll get to have a drink or two, as you do. I'm going to go and get one now anyway, in a pub somewhere that actually is open. So if you have enjoyed this program, please press subscribe, give me the old thumbs up, and like it. And then any comments you put down, I really always aim to answer anyone that you can. So from this particular episode of Tripper Daz, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.